This is an 1895 safety bicycle made by the company Singer, which you probably know as the company that makes sewing machines. It has one gear, wraparound handlebars, and these cool footrests. This is a one-day-old, fresh out of the box 2024 Priority 8. It has a carbon belt drive, an aluminum frame, and disc brakes that actually slow you down when you want them to. These bikes are separated by more than 125 years of innovation, but whenever I see one of those old bikes, it makes me wonder why they look so similar to today's bikes. Why, after so much time, haven't we seen more improvements in bikes? Hey everybody, I'm Tom, and this is Shifter, a channel about urban cycling, bike commuting, and the ways we get around our cities. And if you like this video, please consider subscribing. And so that question has nagged me for some time. Why do bikes today look so similar to the ones 125 years ago? Where is the innovation? And so that question sent me on a road trip. Off I went to the Reynolds Museum in Alberta, where I met somebody who could help me answer that question.
So welcome, my name is Juanita. I am head of events and client services here at the Reynolds Museum. We are a museum of transportation, agriculture, aviation, and industry. So to some degree a machine museum, that's really simple, but we do explore mechanical heritage.
But to start, let's go back to the beginning. Now, when most people think of old bicycles, they think of something that looks like this. This wasn't the first bicycle, but it was one that became popular. I mean, it never really became mass popular, but it became really an icon of its era and something we think of even today. This is a penny farthing.
So this is originally patented as the ordinary bicycle. Around the 1870s is when these guys started to come out.
Now, these bikes look weird. They're clearly different than modern bikes, but in their way, they were major innovations of the day.
Well, a larger wheel gives you better speed advantage. So that's really what they were looking at, and that's why the front wheel is so big, is because they were really trying to capitalize on that.
And what these bikes did, perhaps more than anything else, was to show that a two-wheeled machine was a viable transportation choice. But as soon as you get on this bike, you can see some pretty major shortgomings.
So you're going to have your hands on the handlebar, your foot there, your other foot on the other side of the wheel.
Maybe like this.
There we go. Yeah.
Give it a
and
push.
then you'd be giving yourself a push, hopping up onto the seat, and like I say, start pedaling like mad.
That sounds terrifying. Let's not do that. Let's just see if I can get up here at all. Let's see. Okay. Oh, yeah. It's tall. Like I'm high.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Your center of gravity is so much higher than A, walking, or B, with a regular bicycle. Hence the reason that these guys were dangerous, because it didn't take much to get you off kilter. As you can imagine, driving on a gravel road, you hit the wrong piece of gravel the wrong way and away you go.
Which explains why people kept trying to improve this thing. And all of this led to the famous safety bicycle. Now, the safety bicycle was invented in the late 1880s, and it was pretty clearly a reaction to the skull-crushing penny farthings of previous generations. And this is the bicycle that set off a craze for bikes that you could argue broadly lasted throughout the 20th century and up till today. And this is the bike that gave us the shape that everybody in the world recognizes today as a bicycle. But was that really the last true innovation that came to the bicycle? Have we been spinning our gears for the last 125 years? Well, let's dive in and examine these two bicycles and see what's changed. The Singer was marketed as a ladies' bike, so it lacks the crossbar and it has what we'd call today a step-through frame that gave more space for the big skirts that ladies wore at the time. However, you can see its roots in the classic double diamond shape, which you can get a better look of here in this photograph of the Rover, which was technically the first safety bicycle. This frame shape was a big innovation. For one thing, it's built on a bunch of triangles, and engineers love triangles because they have a great strength to weight ratio, which is what you need in a vehicle, especially a human-powered one like a bicycle. But this design offered even more innovation. For one thing, it separated the propulsion system from the steering so that it made it much easier to ride and less prone to head over heels crashes like that penny farthing before. It also lowered the rider's center of gravity back from the insane highs of the penny farthing down to something a lot safer and a lot easier to manage. It also was low enough to the ground that if you started to lose your balance, you could just put your feet down and catch yourself. So in many ways, this design led to a huge safety breakthrough. And all of these are good things, which probably explains why after 125 years of people trying out new frame designs, we often come back to this classic double diamond shape. It just works. So when it comes to frame shape, have we improved in the last 125 years? I'd say probably not. However, there's more to a frame than just the shape. Some of the biggest innovations we've seen over the last 125 years are in the materials. So this Priority 8 is a good example. It has a lightweight aluminum frame. Aluminum, when the Singer came out, was so rare that it was still an exotic material. There's the story, I don't think it's true, but I'll say it anyway, that aluminum was so precious that Napoleon served his best guests with aluminum cutlery. This Priority also has a carbon fiber fork, and there's 100 years of innovation between the safety bicycle and the adoption of lightweight, strong carbon fiber in bicycle frame design. And today you can get frames that are steel or aluminum or titanium or carbon fiber of all shapes and sizes, but I would say pretty much all of them are improvement on strength, weight, and durability of that original Singer. So have we improved on frame material? Absolutely. The Singer was built with what was at the time a very innovative way to propel itself. The chain, which looks pretty big and chunky compared to today's chains, was a big step forward. The big deal here was that the chain connected to two sprockets of different sizes, which led to a big mechanical advantage. You would get more output for the effort that you put into it. But it also led to more innovations. It allowed the bike to have two wheels of equal size, which led to the frame innovations we talked about earlier. And if you're looking closely, you can see that that chain connects directly to that rear sprocket at the back, making this, yes, a fixed gear bike. Freewheels wouldn't come along for a few years yet, so this meant every ounce you put into the pedals was directly transmitted to the wheel to propel you forward. Now, fixed gear bikes still exist today, of course. They're used for track racing and by crazy people, although I will say, if you ever get a chance to ride a fixed gear on the street, you should go for it. They're a ton of fun. They have this like visceral pleasure that comes from having that direct drive. But don't blame me if you crash. Now, gearing and transmission is probably where you see the most innovation compared to this modern Priority 8. Now, this bike has a carbon belt drive, which is still not that common in bikes, but I love them. They are quiet and they last forever and they require almost no maintenance. But even if you compare that Singer to a modern chain bike, the chains today are of course lighter and stronger and just better in almost every way. And the gears themselves, this Priority 8 has a 8-speed internal gear drive, which is absolutely an improvement over that single fixed gear back in 1895. So have we improved in gears and transmission? Yes and yes. Now, back in the late 1800s, brakes were more of a suggestion than a demand. A lot of those original penny farthings had no brakes at all, but some of them did have what we call a spoon brake, which is just basically a metal plate that pushes down against the rubber of the wheel, which was not good for your tire or for your bike or for your skull for that matter. Eventually, those brakes were replaced by what were called duck brakes or roller brakes, which are similar to today's caliper brakes where the rim is squeezed or the wheel is squeezed. And they're definitely an improvement over what came before, but they were still more of a suggestion than an actual brake. Compared to today, this Priority 8 has a disc brake that is going to stop you in almost any situation. So have we improved on brakes? Yes, absolutely we have. So I wasn't able to ride this Singer. I mean, they don't just let random YouTubers off the street take artifacts out for a spin in the parking lot, but I can make a pretty educated guess on how rideable this bike was. Despite it being a miraculous invention at the time, I'm guessing that it was a little clunky. It probably made some noise with all those metal parts rubbing on each other. Pneumatic tires were still being honed, so it probably was not the smoothest ride. And despite the springs in this seat, I think it probably was a bit rough. Comparatively, this is the first ride I ever took on this new Priority, and it was fun and smooth and zippy, and I anticipate many great rides for both pleasure and transportation in my future. So have we improved rideability? Yes. However, the other part of rideability is the place in which you're riding, the streets. Now, back in the 1890s, of course, it would be tough to find a smoothly paved road to take your bike on, and you're probably dodging horses and carriages and the things that the horses leave around that might smear onto the road and make things a little bit slick. Actually, the safety bicycle craze of the late 1800s and early 1900s led to the first campaigns for paved routes, which is interesting when you consider the next motorist who yells at you saying that roads were built for cars is just woefully misinformed. However, today's roads, as smooth as they are also overrun with insanely large automobiles driven by people who have no awareness, and they feel entitled to drive their car anywhere and park it anytime, any place for free. So have we improved rideability? I'd say yes and no. So overall, how do these bikes stacked up? Have we actually made any improvements in the last 125 years? Well, I'd say the safety bicycle wins out in one important way, and that is societal impact. The innovations of the safety bicycle launched a bicycle craze that spread quickly almost all over the world and lasts until today. The bicycle is the most common vehicle ridden in the world, and if you ask almost anyone on planet Earth what this thing is, they know what it is. It's a bicycle. It led to further innovations in technology and transportation and automobiles and the way our cities are designed, so its impact is really off the charts. And if you measure an invention by how long its original sort of foundation has lasted, I'd say that double diamond shaped is probably in the running for the greatest invention in history. But beyond that, I'd say there's been amazing innovations and improvements in almost every other part of the bicycle. And those innovations continue today. Think about the e-bike. I mean, the pedal assist motor you see on millions of bikes today might be the biggest transportation innovation the world has seen in the last decade. Forget electric cars and mythical hyperloops. The electric bicycle is impacting millions of people today and is also going to continue to do so, and it is also reshaping the way we think about our cities and our society as well. So yes, the bicycle may be the perfect invention, but it continues to be innovative in a way that will impact our lives in positive ways. And if you ask me, the more people riding a bike makes our cities, our world, our environment, and our lives better. So I say bring on the innovation. Big thanks to the Reynolds Museum and to Juanita for all of her time and knowledge. And let me know if you like this video. There's all kinds of cool bikes in that museum, so maybe I'll go back someday if you like this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.